Copse Corner around Silverstone. It used to be the very first corner off the track till the big rebuild in 2011. Even though it is taken flat out in F1 these days, it's nowhere near flat in GT cars. So we're going to look at the entry, mid-corner, as well as the exit of the corner, compare a good and a bad lap, and even more importantly, actually analyze the data we produced in Assetto Corsa to get to those conclusions. As you can see on the map, Copse is all about minimum speed, right? You get into it with quite a lot of speed, following the old start-finish straight. You get out of it approaching Maggots, Backwards, and Chapel, where you need a lot of entry speed, right? So Copse is all about keeping your minimum speed as high as possible. Take a look at what that looks like in action in a GT3 car. So we're coming out of left field, taking this right-hand king, using a bit of the curb back onto the asphalt, and actually approaching the corner from the outside, all the way to the apex, and then back on the throttle as soon as you can, and watch out for track limits as you exit Copse Corner. Let's do that again once more in slow motion. So using the curb on the outside to widen our entry, braking quite deep into the corner. In the moment that you feel the front gripping, you get back onto the power, and then straighten up the steering, careful on the exit, always when at least two wheels on or within the white lines. We're actually going to compare a good and a not so good lap to really point out the main mistakes that we see. So top one is the good one, bottom one is the not so good one. Similar entry speed, we start turning in, and whilst the top one you can see the car gripping, the bottom one we start understeering, run wide, and lose speed as a consequence of that. Now, even though that may not look like much of a difference, it actually costs us more than a tenth of a second, which is huge for a simple 8 to 9 second section on a track with that many corners. In order to understand why we're losing time and what we can do to avoid it, what's the best way to do it? Look at the data. We're going to analyze our racing line, the brake pressure applied, the throttle trace, and last but not least, the speed as a result of those. Let's look at the line first. So we got the orange line coming here for the good lap. Get a good turn in, clip the apex, and then use the space on the outside without running beyond the track limits that we have. However, what we did see in the video just now was that on the other lap, which is just coming now and forming the red line, we actually missed the apex slightly and then start running really wide towards the exit of the corner. Let's look at the brake trace in this case, right? We want to look at each phase of the corner. We get the brake trace for the bad lap here. You can see we brake quite a bit initially, but then very quickly come off the pedal down to zero brake pressure. Let's see what we did differently in the better lap. So we have a bit more peak pressure at the start, so a bit sharper braking, but then importantly, look, the brake trace actually goes deeper into the corner. And that's the key thing. We brake deeper into the corner, which keeps the weight of the car on the front. So already know that we did something different under braking, but what about the throttle? And again, got the throttle tracer for the worst lap. You can see we tried getting in the throttle first, then had to come off, then back on it again, quite wavy as we go up to 100% throttle, which is really bad. Now compare this to the better version. This is critical. We get on the throttle just a tad later, but what's important is we go in one go, and as you can see, as a result of that, we actually add full throttle way earlier in the better lap. Question is, what's the end result of it? It's less speed when it matters most. So we can see we brake deeper into the corner. We can see the orange graph actually in terms of speed here is lower at the minimum point. So we have a lower minimum corner speed, actually losing a bit of time there. But why? We sacrificed the minimum speed for a much better exit on the throttle in one go. And as you can see towards the exit, we actually start overtaking the speed trace of the worst lap. And we keep gaining that speed throughout the following straight. The result, a quite serious difference of almost 7 kilometers an hour more in the better version of this corner. So let's wrap up with the 3 key points to nail Copse Corner around Silverstone. First, come off the brakes gently and brake deeply into the corner to keep the weight of the car in the front. Secondly, it's all about the exit through Copse, right? So come onto the throttle as soon as you can, but only once you can actually do that in one go and go flat out. And lastly, watch out for track limits as you exit Copse Corner. It's extremely frustrating around here. You have all this huge runoff area, which is quite inviting, but do make sure you stay within the white lines.